My personal saying is that there's always going to be, it's all timing. So there's always going to be a point in time in a owner's life where they either need or want to sell. One of those two things is going to happen. There's many different reasons why each one might occur in a owner's life to where they become a seller. And the goal is to get your message in front of them when that day comes.
Hey, Rockstars, Matt Theriault here at Epic Real Estate. Welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Show. And if you're into real estate investing for cash flow specifically, you're going to love today's episode of Thought Leader Thursday. Okay, so today it is my pleasure to welcome back to the show this real estate expert, serial entrepreneur, charitable humanitarian, adventure seeker, and passionate family man. So please help me welcome back to the show, Mr. Kevin Buck. Kevin, welcome back.
Matt, thanks for having me, buddy. I'm looking forward to catching up.
Yeah, we've been playing a little bit of podcast tag.
Yeah, right.
And having a hard time nailing it down, but I'm glad we finally did. So you are a cash flowing expert. This is your focus, and so it's near and dear to my heart. But you do it with a slightly different asset class. Why don't you just, maybe
we do
remind me what it is that you do and how you do it.
Yeah, we have a little twist. I mean, now we've owned other types of real estate. We've owned lots of residential, lots of multifamily over the years, commercial, and just happened to cross mobile home parks. Now it's going on 7 years, and that is solely what we focus on today. And we love the niche, man. So we've been buying parks for going on 7 years now, and own them in now today, as we do this recording, 11 states, and soon to be 13 states here in the very near future. So own them as far north as New York and Michigan, and as far west right now as Oklahoma, and then everywhere else in between. So
got it. Is that where you started with mobile home parks?
No, not at all. No, many years ago, I got I cut my teeth in single family, buying, mostly doing really rough rehabs in the inner city of Pennsylvania where I grew up. And then started doing buy and hold. I was always taught to buy and hold and generate cash flow. That was kind of model that was, put onto my shoulders way back when. And then kind of migrated into multifamily. This is all way back before the crash. And then, crash hit me pretty hard, and was just really looking to scale the business up again because I lost pretty much everything during the crash. And at some point in 2011, got introduced to mobile home parks. Really wasn't interested at that point. Put a little bit more thought into it, a little bit more education behind me, and saw something that seemed very intriguing, and I wanted to give it a shot. And so bought my first park way back then up in Atlanta, and here we are today, man. So I've done a little bit of everything, but this has been our sole focus for the past 7 years.
That's great. I have almost no experience with a mobile home park. I don't even know if I've ever stepped foot on one.
I had not ever stepped foot in one until we actually bought one. So
yeah. Okay. Good. So we have a business over here where we help people build real estate investing businesses, and we support them along the way, and we build their systems and do all that. And through their marketing efforts, they come across all kinds of stuff, most of which I can help them with. But I did have a client recently that came and says, Matt, I got this mobile home park. What do I do with it? And I said, I don't know. Let me get back to you. So I hit you up, and I connected you too. And he said he's pretty happy with the end result. What's your version of the story?
Yeah, no. So we have not bought the park yet. We're actually in contract with that park, and him and I actually have a call. I think tomorrow with the seller. We've uncovered a few potential hiccups in the infrastructure, and so as of today, we're doing a deal together. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the connection there.
You bet.
And hopefully it does go somewhere, because it looks like a great opportunity, and it's up in Michigan. Again, we own something up in Michigan now. He's actually based in Michigan. The person you connected me with, and we like Michigan as a marketplace. I don't think I'd want to live there. A little too cold, but it's a great market to own mobile home parks in.
Right. So when you go through the due diligence process, which you guys are going through right now, what are the big differences that you're looking for that compared to single family?
Yeah, probably a lot of similarities, but there's a couple additional caveats that exist in our space. Like, to use the example of this park that we're doing with one of your students. That one is on private utility, so it's got a private well system for the water supply. It's in a somewhat rural area. It's close to Grand Rapids, but not close enough to where there's municipal utilities. And that's common with mobile home parks. A lot of times when they're built, whether it's 15, 20, 30 years ago, they're typically built on pieces of land that don't have a higher and better use, right? So it's cheap land then. And then over time, cities or towns kind of get pushed outwards, and you'll find parks that might have been on private utilities, 30 years ago, and then municipal sewer and water lines come close by and to get connected. But with this one, it's still probably 15 years or so before the growth really gets that close to it. And so it's got a private well for the water, and then it's got basically a master septic system. So just, think of like a huge robust version of like what you might find on one single family home. Like instead of like a 1,500 or 1,000 gallon tank, you've got like a 15,000 gallon tank and a huge leach field that might encompass like a quarter of an acre. And so that's what this system has. And so like one of the caveats with this park was we knew that they had multiple violations from the EPA for the sewage. The sewage system wasn't working properly. And it happens with septics if you don't maintain them, if you have tree roots growing into the lines. And so this one, we kind of knew there was a little bit of hair on it going in. We didn't know how in depth or how drastic it was. But as we dug deeper, as we got engineers involved, we uncovered what the seller said was about a $50,000 repair. It's more like a $250,000 repair. Mm-hmm. So the infrastructure is very important, especially in situations where you've got private sewer. Some of the other things that you want to identify is, in a perfect world, Matt, like we don't want to own any of the homes in that community. So we don't want to own any of the trailers. We just want to rent the land to the folks that own the trailers, right? So just basically thinking of like it as a parking lot where they park their mobile homes that aren't very mobile. It's very hard and expensive to move them. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, we're just basically providing the infrastructure, the water and sewer, and a place to park their home. And so, but there are a lot of instances where parks will come along with rental inventory. So where the park actually owns some of the units. And so in that situation, just like if you buy a single family home, you're going to want to go through and do walkthroughs, ensure that number one, there's someone living there. Number two, that it's in good structural shape. And that deal that we're talking about now up in Michigan, I think it's got about 11 or 14, I believe, park-owned homes. And so we've got to do a thorough inspection on all those. But and then the other similar things that you would do. You want to verify the rent roll, verify the financials. We always get experts involved when it comes to anything regarding the infrastructure. We'll get engineers involved and water companies and sewer companies and things like that. We'll also deal with, talk to the county, find out what kind of historic code violations the community might have had, try to get the general, temperature reading from the county on how they feel about the community. A lot of times we're buying value add stuff where if it's a single family home, the code enforcement officer might not be all that happy, but they get pretty pleased when they see someone coming in that's going to clean it up. Mobile home parks have a negative stigma to start with. And so they're already starting a little bit behind. And what I found is that a lot of times we come in like, thinking that we're the guys with the capes on. Most of the time, municipalities don't really perceive us that way because all they think is that a mobile home park, no matter who takes it over, it's going to be a problem. And so we spend a lot of time during due diligence just really getting a really good gut check as to how much friction we're going to have with this city or this township if we buy this property, if it's a value add play. So like the one I'm speaking of, Michigan, this thing has literally had sewage issues for like 4 years and they've been ignoring it. And so they've had multiple violations. The city hates it. If it was up to them, they would have shut it down. So we got the gut check that they truly want to work with whoever the next buyer is and they want to be flexible. In other instances, we've had the complete opposite to where it's like, you know what, you're wasting your money. You better not buy this thing. We're going to continue working to shut you guys down. So it's always good to know that going in. So and a multitude of other things as well. But those are some of the unique aspects of mobile home parks that might not exist in some other asset classes.
Mm-hmm. So is this grounds for like with single families, would you be going back to the seller and asking for an adjustment?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. It's a pretty big adjustment though. It's not just an adjustment in price on this one. Cause the current condition of this infrastructure, a bank won't touch it. Like they won't touch it at all. It's got an environmental issue. It's got just a litany of, health department violations, not just one, like multiple, because the guy just kept ignoring these violations as they came in. And so, it's a situation where we surely won't want to sign our name on a recourse loan with this underlying issue in place. It's a big one. And so we're going to go back and do a price reduction, attempt to do a price reduction, but also get him to carry financing for a period of time. Get him to take a small amount down, about 10% is kind of our goal. And a price reduction as well. That will give us enough time to, number one, we'll, instead of putting all the money as a down payment, we'll inject a significant amount of money into the infrastructure improvements, into the cosmetic improvements of the park itself. get some stabilized financials in place because he doesn't have them. I mean, his books are horrific. And so we'll do that. If he is in agreement, we'll get him to hold for 2 to 3 years, get some good stabilized books in place, fix the infrastructure issue, and then take him out with some bank debt in a couple years down the road once it's ready to go that route. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm too optimistic at this point. He didn't seem too receptive. Really? But, the interesting thing is I think it's a game of poker in these situations. He thinks he's got this product that everybody wants. But for the most part, people are scared to death when it comes to not just infrastructure issues, but when you got like the EPA involved and the counties involved, and like there's literally just health violations that are, pages and pages long. It's a big deal. Like, that's a big deal to deal with. And it really is a lot of risk. And we've gone down that road before. We're comfortable with it. And we know that we can fix it. But so we'll probably play hardball with him. And I'm guessing we'll probably have to walk away from the table, and hopefully it comes back to us. That's kind of my gut check of how I think it's going to play out. And I'd like to buy it because it's a good opportunity, but I'm surely not going to overpay for it. I think that's in today's world, that's the interesting thing, man. Maybe you're seeing the same thing. There's so much anxiety out there from buyers, just feeling like if they don't buy today, there's not many deals left, right? Like, and they're very anxious to overpay or to overbid, and that is not us. So we're slow and patient buyers.
It's good. Yeah. The Warren Buffett, the best investing is boring investing.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. We're in it for the long run. We're not in it to make a quick buck. Like that property there, again, I said it's just outside of the Grand Rapids MSA. Grand Rapids is a phenomenal market, and the growth is heading that direction throughout the interstate. So it's only a 40-minute drive to downtown Grand Rapids. So, it's very much a commuter suburb of Grand Rapids. So it's a phenomenal location. It's only going to get better. But, today it's a little rough.
Right. I can see how those exterior elements could get somebody really excited about purchasing the property. And then once you get in, there's so much more to uncover. And so thank you for helping and looking out for them, because I always say around here, it's better to miss out on a good one than it is to buy a bad one. And
absolutely.
Bought a few bad ones, and boy, you remember those. You forget about the good ones you might have missed out on, but you remember the bad ones.
Well, this one would sink somebody's ship. Like this one would sink the unassuming buyer's ship completely, especially if they went just on the advice of the seller. The seller like literally had some quotes from like a local septic company that were like $45,000. They were all BS. There was nothing real about it. We got a real engineer involved, and it literally was 5 times the amount. But if someone would have just gone into it saying, "Hey, this is a great deal," because what we're paying for it is a great deal if the repairs were only $50,000. But now it's not a good deal whatsoever. Right. It would truly eat someone's lunch.
Right. So when you go back to this to the table to negotiate with the seller, kind of what does that conversation look like then?
Yeah, it's typically just laying out the facts. He told us X. Here's the Y and Z. Here's the real facts behind the matter. And ultimately, the facts are, it's a $250,000 infrastructure repair. He's got it's been piling up. He's got litigation literally chipping at his heels. I can't believe that the city hasn't litigated yet. It's crazy that they haven't. It's been like literally 3.5 years of violations, and he's just been ignoring them. So he's got the pressure from the city. He's got just pressure from the park's not producing. Like, it's only half full. The residents that are there know that there's an issue. He's got a lot of slow payers and delinquent tenants on his hands. It's a downward spiral. And so there might be another buyer out there, but surely I can't imagine at the price that we have it under contract for. And so we just lay out the facts and say, here's what it is. Any next buyer that comes in is going to discover the same thing we've discovered. They're not going to be able to get bank financing. They're going to request that you hold financing, because here's what has to happen. Like, literally, you have horrible financials. We've got to get it stabilized. We've got to fix this infrastructure issue. I'm not going to give $200,000 down to you as a normal down payment, because I got to go dump another $250 into this thing, and that completely screws up my returns. So no, it's just the facts. I don't know how else to put it. Like, we're just transparent with, like, here's what it is. Right. Here's how it works. And if this doesn't work for you, you know what? Here's my number. You know how to reach us. And once you spend another 60 or 90 days with another buyer that probably bails out, call me back.
That's great.
Not to be arrogant, but it's
that's exactly how
most of the time those types of deals come back around. And I think you just got to be willing to walk away and know that you're confident enough with your bids and your analysis that you know what a good deal means, you know what a bad deal means. And if we're buying it today at what we have in our contract for, it's a bad deal. So it's not worth the time or energy.
The additional thing that my approach at that point, especially when you're probably going to walk away, is, this is a really nice property. It's why we got into contract with you in the first place. Well, why don't you just go fix it up yourself and keep it? It'll produce really well once all this stuff is fixed.
So the funny part about that is one of the offers he made was that we could either pay, I think we have another contract for $560 or $580, somewhere around there. He was going to sell it to us unrepaired for $580, or he would repair it himself and sell it to us for, $630. So like basically he'd make back that entire amount. But I think that was his way of basically screwing that buyer. Whoever was going to cut, whatever he was going to do was going to be a Band-Aid repair, and would have put the buyer in a really bad situation. And so he was willing to repair, but it wasn't the right repair.
Right. Sweet. Okay. So seems like the negotiation and the buying process is relatively similar to single family. The due diligence is much more extensive. It seems like there's a lot more that can go wrong when you're checking with the city and the EPA and lawsuits, all kinds of stuff. When you're actually looking for the deals, how is that different?
Yeah.
Compared to single family.
I would say that one of the big differences, and I was a single family buyer, so I get that space really well. It's a different type of buyer typically, as far as we very rarely ever run across what I consider to be like a motivated seller, someone that's kind of in distress and needs to sell like fast, which is it's a very typical profile for a seller that's going to sell at 65 or 70 cents in a dollar, single family home. And so that's one thing, just knowing that going in that, they're selling a business most of the time. If they're doing anything right, it's making money, it's paying for its debt. It's not all that big of a stress point for them. And so a lot of times it's a little bit of a slower process, it's a little bit more sophisticated of a negotiation. You're really buying a business at that point in time. So that's where it differs a good bit. And it's very similar to buying a multifamily apartment or another type of commercial real estate. It's all income driven, but, the one interesting thing about this niche, Matt, that I don't think a lot of people realize is the sellers or the current owners. It's got a very aging population of owners. Like it's a very young niche when you think about it, compared to other types of real estate. Like it's really only been around since like the 40s and 50s, where most of the communities actually were built in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so it's not that old of an industry, and there's still a lot of first generation owners out there. And now they're in their 80s. Now they're in their 90s. I've had a dialogue going with these two brothers up in Minnesota. They're 93 years old each. They're twins, and they built their park like 40 some odd years ago. And there's a huge opportunity to buy from these owners that are truly aging out of these asset classes. And so like that's one of the unique things. A lot of times it's more of a personal connection. A lot of these folks aren't really motivated to sell because they're in financial distress. A lot of times it's more of a personal rapport, relationship building with these sellers more than it is like the highest and best dollar amount. The dollar amount has to be fair, but we've bought many parks over the years that we were not the highest bidder. And I think we just happened to have a better in with the seller, right? Had a better relationship.
Right.
So
know, like, and trust plays a big role, right?
Absolutely.
So for example, these two 93-year-old twins, I guess, is it 193-year-old twins or two?
Two 90. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
There's one set of twins.
One set of twins. Right. Not
how
four.
How did you find them? How did you meet them?
Yeah. So we do a lot of direct owner marketing. That's
direct
kind
mail?
of we do a lot of direct mail.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how we initially got in contact with them. I think it was direct mail. So we do a lot of cold calling. We have a full-time outbound cold caller in house. We do a ton of direct mail. We do work with brokers as well, but about 90% of our portfolio literally we build ourselves by going direct to owner. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's a funny story. Now I'm recalling like how our original connection happened. We sent them a direct mail piece, and I've never spoken with either one of these guys, the brothers. They're old school as old school gets. They literally wrote me a handwritten letter back from the letter that I sent them, and we've literally been pen pals for like 3 years now. We've never spoken on the phone. They sent me pictures of their mobile home park. It's gorgeous. It's on a stream. Uh-huh. And they literally send me pictures of like, I don't know what you catch in a stream, but whatever types of fish you catch in stream in Minnesota, they'll send me pictures like over the summertime of what their grandson caught like off their deck on the mobile out of the mobile home. 'Cause they actually live in the mobile home park. It's crazy.
Yeah. They know what they're doing. They're feeding the buyer's emotions.
Yeah, yeah, no. It's awesome, but
Also,
they're ex-attorneys. So I mean,
uh-huh.
these guys are sharp guys. They had a law practice in town and
Hmm.
retired. And they both live in the community, and just it's a great place for them to retire, and they enjoy it. But they're not ready to sell yet. I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, again, they're up there, but
Right.
anyway, it's so we do a lot. To answer your original question, we do a lot of direct owner marketing. Last year, we bought 9 communities, and 8 of those 9 were our own efforts. So
Hmm.
direct owner. Only one came through a broker. So we like brokers, but what we have found is that at least in today's market, once it gets in a broker's hand, and I get this, it's the broker's job, it's their fiduciary responsibility to get the highest and best dollar amount for their client, the seller. So once it gets in broker's hands, it goes out to the world. There's always going to be someone that's willing to pay more than you, Matt, more than me. There's always going to be a buyer that's willing to pay a little
Right.
bit more, take a little bit less of a return. And so we'd rather avoid that and create some upside for ourselves by going direct to owner. That's our goal.
Got it. So to build a relationship, it takes time, right? So
Yep.
with that said, how many projects do you acquire a year?
As many that makes sense. I mean, last year we bought 9. Yeah, I mean, it really is the truth. I mean, last year we bought 9. Year before that, we only bought 6. We're shooting to. It's not necessarily a number of communities. We've kind of have like an assets under management target. So we'd like to add like another $100 million of assets under management this year. It's off to a slow start. It's funny, like literally up until like last week, I was getting a little down. I'm head of our acquisitions team here, and I was a little down. You know those times where I'm like,
Hmm.
literally, nothing's been happening. Like literally for the past month and a half, I feel like we're spinning our wheels. Like things are falling off the board. Nothing's going back up. And then literally just a week ago, almost like the floodgates open. I literally had a couple opportunities come in just out of nowhere, and
Hmm.
our pipeline's getting filled back up, and we've got some momentum going again, and we're excited. So,
That's good. It happens to the
yeah,
best of us, man. You can hit
man.
those slumps and just be like, "Oh my God, has the market shifted?" And I don't know what happened. And
Yeah, I
you
was
just gotta
down.
keep
I was
on.
I was kind of prepping my partners. I'm like, guys, like like I know we have like 11 months left or 10 months left, but man, it's looking rough, man. How it's going today, I don't think there's any way that I'm going to be able to meet this goal, and
Right.
just
Right.
kind of plant the seed now so that I don't get
Uh-huh.
a bunch of crap in 10 months when I completely failed
I
this to
told you way
start
back
doing goal.
in January. Um, so yeah, to push through those slumps, let's talk about that because I think there's a lot of people experiencing that right now, thinking stuff like direct mail doesn't work anymore and PPC is too competitive and expensive, and Facebook is like now playing games with advertisers, and there's a lot of chitter chatter, negativity going on, and but we all experience that. The best of us will experience those slumps, and
Yep,
I don't know. You tell me. That my whole philosophy is just stay consistent with the
that's it.
activities that got you in the first place.
That's
And
it. That's
what we'll
it.
find is the money that we make today is a lot of times based off of activity we did 60, 90 days
Love
ago,
it.
right? And
Yep.
I would imagine for mobile home parks, it's probably stuff that you were doing a year ago,
Our
right?
deal cycle is way longer than years. I mean, we've had deals that have literally taken from first point of contact. They've taken 2 years to close, and
Mhm.
sometimes more than that. So, yeah, no, but the consistency is the key. It really is. I
Yep.
mean, just being consistent with what works. Don't slow down on the direct mail. Like, and make sure that you're keeping the right data and analytics to really measure what's happening, right? So
Mhm.
that you're not just haphazardly spending your money on things that maybe truly aren't working anymore, aren't working as effective. You need to change it up a little bit, but consistency is the key. I mean, my personal saying is that there's always going to be, it's all timing. So there's always going to be a point in time in a owner's life where they either need or want to sell. One of
Yep.
those two things is going to happen. There's many different reasons why each one might occur
Mhm.
in a owner's life to where they become a seller. And the goal is to get your message in front of them when that day comes, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like, the credit card or like the tire advertisements, like only once every 4 years, if you're a normal driver, if you drive 10,000 or 12,000 miles a year, do you need a new set of tires in your car? But yet I guarantee at least 2 times a week, probably sometimes more, there's freaking Tires Plus and, Tire Mart and all those, like they're literally sending advertisements knowing that one of those days, either you
Mhm.
just hit like a nail on the way home and now you need a whole new set of tires,
Yep.
or it didn't pass inspection if you're in one of those states, and you need new tires. So like their goal is to get the timing right. If they would have just sent you one, the same week you got new tires, you wouldn't have held on to the damn thing. You'd thrown it away, and then you'd have been scrambling to find a tire place. When you actually need a new tire. Same thing with credit cards, right? I mean,
Yep.
they send them nonstop, and very few times do they ever get used. But hopefully, they'll get you on the day that you need a credit line, or you're looking
Mhm.
for maybe a new point system. So
Mhm. It's a great way to
very
put
very
it.
similar, very similar.
Totally, 100%. And only people that have been in this game for a little while actually recognize that. People
Mm-hmm.
that are just getting into it, and if they enter into a slump and get started, they're like, oh, this real estate thing doesn't work, and they quit, right? And I guess just the lesson there is that everybody goes through it, and consistency is what prevails.
Yeah, it's kind of like when, during the recession, a lot of, during down times, whether it's a recession or just a down slump, a lot of people see something not working. And so their immediate reaction is to pull back, is to slow down with whatever they're doing. If it's marketing, like, right, they lower their budget, their marketing budget, they stop doing as much direct mail. Whereas you should be really doing the opposite at those points of time, which is, it's kind of counterintuitive, right. But you need to pump it out more, because honestly, if you're feeling that way, I guarantee it's affecting your other competitors as well. They're going through the same challenge. So do the opposite of what they're doing, beef it up. And I guarantee you'll see some results from it.
You have my office bugged or something?
What's that?
I said, do you have my office bugged or something?
Yeah,
like
this,
3 or 4
is your gospel.
Like, I think I just said that yesterday to my team. Great. So you've got a podcast. I think you and I and maybe a handful of others, some of the longest running real estate podcasts. And, you talk a lot about real estate. What do you wish you could talk about more that you don't get the opportunity to?
Man, that's a great question. What I enjoy, one of the biggest things I've enjoyed on my show, and I wish I could do more of it, and I'll explain what the challenges of why it doesn't happen as often is. I've had some guys on my show. So I've got 2 shows. I've got a mobile home park investing show, and then I've got a show called Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow, which is where I interview guys that are commercial real estate investors. And I've had guys on from all different types of asset classes, whether self-storage or retail or office or car washes or, the list goes on and on. Mm-hmm. I've had some old school guys in the show that literally, probably a handful of them, that one guy, he owned a couple billion square feet of office in Chicago. He's been around for like 70 years. The guy was like 88 years old. I mean, he started when he was like 16, and he didn't even know what a podcast was. He had no idea. Had to have some people help him like get on the show. And the amount of information and wisdom gathered from someone like that, that's been through not just one downturn, not just 2, but multiple downturns, multiple challenges, multiple capital markets. I wish I could do more of that. I wish there were more folks like that I could get on my show and have just candid conversations. It doesn't even have to be about real estate. Just candid conversations about life and experiences and see it through their eyes. I really enjoy that. So I wish I could do more of that. The challenge is they don't know technology that well, and they surely don't know what a podcast is.
I ran across somebody like that once, and I got I think was probably the most valuable advice and lesson that I've ever received since. And I'll share it with you, but what was the biggest thing you took away from that one person?
With that guy I'm speaking of, one of the interesting, there's 2 really interesting things. He really did follow like the Warren Buffett philosophy of just really having long-term projection, investing projection. So that was one thing. Like he was an office guy. He knew office doesn't always do good. But like, he knew he was in for a long haul. He wasn't in just for the one up cycle. And then, he's going to try to get out at the peak. He wasn't going to try to time it. So he was very focused on keeping his leverage points really low. So he knew that he would go through ups and downs. He knew that there would be points at times where he had 60 or 40% vacancies in his office buildings, which could be catastrophic to majority of folks that keep 70, 80% leverage points on their properties. Right. And so he was very focused on low leverage, not over-promising to his investors. So his returns were affected, right? His cash on cash returns weren't as substantial as maybe some of his competitors. But the longevity of his investment cycle and the stability that he offered his investors allowed him to continually outshine those competitors that came into his space and came out of the space, came in and came out. The guy, he was still there, 50, 60 years later, and he's seen people come and go. And he just played it safe. He played it safe and consistent. So, I mean, it's a very simple elementary lesson, but we very much practice that in our business. We, our LTV, our leverage point across our portfolio runs in the low 60 range. We surely could probably get much higher cash on cash returns by leveraging the properties much more. I know we're leaving some equity on the table, but we're surely prepared for a downturn, and I feel like we would thrive through it because of that. We wouldn't have those concerns. We wouldn't lose sleep at night about being over leveraged if a catastrophic event occurred like 2008.
Right. Yeah, it's one thing to read some advice like that on a meme on Instagram, and something entirely different to hear it from somebody that's been through it, right? I remember when one of my very first RIA meetings I ever went to, there was an old guy. He'd made a fortune with 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartments, which is like the thing that everybody
scared of it. Yeah.
Right. And it was really fascinating. And it was just like, wow, there's a million ways to make $1 million in this business if you do it right. And they had asked him, or one of the questions was, if you had to start all over again, what would you have done differently? And his answer totally set me off on a whole new journey. Was I wish I would have bought more and sold less.
Yeah,
I was like, hear that. Oh my God, that's his biggest regret, sitting up there at 90-something years old, and he just thinks of all this, how much wealthier he would be if he just didn't sell anything.
Yep.
So that's where
that's funny. I go through that gut wrenching decision all the time, and we're not really sellers, and I'll give you the flip side of that story. So we're not sellers. We don't consider ourselves sellers. We did sell a couple assets that if you'd asked us the prior year, if you'd asked us in 2017, like, would you consider selling, this out of the other property? We'd be like, no, absolutely not. Like, they perform incredibly well. Our basis is really low in them. I mean, no, it just doesn't make sense. They're not making any more mobile home parks. No, we're not selling. And last year we had, towards the end of the year, we had some, what I felt to be ridiculous unsolicited offers come in for a couple of our properties that you never lose by taking money off the table. So like I subscribe to the don't sell because ultimately it's the way to build wealth. I mean, think of it from the long-term horizon, but also there is a chance that like there's risk associated with that to a certain extent. There is no risk with taking money off the table. Like, there's never going to be risk with truly exiting out of a property, realizing that those capital gains sucks to pay Uncle Sam. Hopefully you've got another plan for you can 1031 or do something else with the money. But in any event, you still don't lose in that endeavor, right? And so we're surely not sellers, but everything's for sale at the right price. And as long as you can truly leverage that and have a plan to leverage that into something bigger and better, I think it's quite all right to do so.
Right. Well, it's one thing to sell to improve your portfolio. It's another thing to sell and go have fun.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I think, because it was an audience full of fix and flippers. So I think that's who he was addressing, but I agree with you 100% on that. What is something that you hear in the real estate investing world that you hear over and over again that makes you cringe when you hear it?
Not to get started today. I agree that we've been on a up run for a long period of time. And what my personal opinion is the folks that basically say, oh, I'm keeping my money on the sideline, or I'm not doing this out of the other because there's a recession coming, or just they're looking for an excuse not to do anything. And so
they want to sound smart without taking action.
Absolutely. Exactly. One excuse for not taking action. And, I do agree that it's more challenging to find deals. That I kind of talked about that a little bit before the show. You got to work a little harder. You got to work a little smarter. But that's okay. Right. I mean, that's just all part of the business, right? There's ebbs and flows. And so there's always going to be a point in time when a seller needs or wants to sell. Your goal is just to be in front of them when that point in time comes. And I don't care if it's single family or mobile home parks, multifamily, self-storage, whatever it might be. And so don't wait. Like, there's not like a right or wrong time to get started as a investor. And so do it today. Whatever your asset of choices, whatever you decide you want to do. Again, there's 1,001 different ways to make money in real estate. You can do turnkey, you can do fix and flips, you can do buy and holds like you do. You can do mobile home parks, you can do everything else. I mean, but just do it. Take some action and have some intention behind it.
Your analogy of the tire shop and the credit cards, I think is so perfect for real estate, as people are looking for when is their market going to be up? When is it down? When should I get in? Just like you're saying. And it doesn't matter what the market is doing. It's not a good or bad market. It's an up or down. And in every market, there's a relative low price to buy at and a relative high price to sell at. And that's always going to happen because life happens every single day, right? You get a flat tire every day. You run into a situation where you need a credit line. That happens to somebody every day. And the same thing with sellers. Their motivation, something in life hits them, causes them to be a motivated seller. That happens every single day. I think that's great advice.
Yeah. The advice I give is figure out how to get creative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because it's funny. I got some friends that aren't in real estate. They really don't know anything about real estate. They own a home and that's about it. And a couple of different friends over the years that I've heard, over the last probably 2 years, like they're in their primary residence, like they've gained a ton of equity in this thing over the last couple of years. And they're like, we got whatever, $500,000 of equity here. We're going to turn around, we want to, buy another home in the neighborhood we really want to live in, whatever it might be. And they start shopping. They're like, holy crap, the prices are so high. And I'm like, right. You're getting a very high inflated price for your home. You're selling it, but like that doesn't, it's like a linear exchange into something that's also appreciated at the same rate. Right. And so you just got to figure out how to get creative. I mean, there's still ways to make money in these types of markets. You just got to get a little more creative, be more creative than the next guy.
The few years I was a real estate agent, that happened all the time. You dealt with a seller that was demanding to get more for their house, and then they'd go to buy a house. How could they ask that much for that? And I was like, you're just asking that much for yours. It's funny. Kevin, if there were 3 guiding principles for your success, 3 guiding principles. I'm going to repeat
for mine or advice to others.
This is for yours. For you, and I'm asking the question a couple times, so you have a second to think about it. If there were 3 guiding principles for your success, what would they be?
For the success that I've had, is that how you're asking?
Your guiding principles for you.
The one of the biggest ones. I don't know where I'd be at today if it wasn't for a mentor. And this is someone that came into my life. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed because it was surely by accident. I wasn't really looking for him. I know most people go out looking for a mentor. He found me. And so the universe kind of pulled us together. And this was back when I was 19 years old. And that's when he introduced me to real estate. And that's really what set me on my path. And so I know that I got lucky, and that normally isn't the case of how our paths crossed. We're still great friends today. And that was 19 years ago. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago. Wow. I'm aging myself here. But so mentor is. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And don't subscribe to, I get on Bigger Pockets every once in a while, and I see people posting about, don't pay for it. You can learn everything you need to learn here. Like that might be the truth, but like it's kind of like saying like you expect a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree without paying for it. Like, I know there's online like classes now, and there's different things you can get like, free. There's like different lectures from universities you can get on Spotify. And so you could probably get the knowledge there, but like, it's going to be puzzled together, bits and pieces here. If you really want to take action, you want to do it in a very direct, targeted manner, seek out a mentor that directly align with your investment philosophy, and suck it up and spend the money and bring that person aboard and accelerate your results.
Yeah. So. No, I've got 2. I spent $80,000 last year in coaches, and I mean, at 10 times that return. So
absolutely. No, I feel you, brother.
Mindset of not paying for it, but if you want to go fast, go for it. It's an investment.
Absolutely. One of the other ones is enjoy what you do. Like don't subscribe just to looking at Facebook posts, seeing like people hold checks up at how much money they're making, and thinking just because they're flipping houses, they're wholesaling houses, that's for you. Like real estate investing might be a good fit, but there's again 1,000,001 different ways to make money as a real estate investor. So find the one that you might have to go through a few, but pick one, find one that directly aligns with your whatever it's your core values, or maybe it's a lifestyle choice or a lifestyle you're trying to build, kind of, you can build this business around your lifestyle, but find something that you enjoy doing that I like the idea of a 4-hour work week. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how realistic that is, and it shouldn't even be an end goal for yours, because if you truly enjoy what you're doing, it shouldn't seem like work anyway. Mm-hmm. So I love what we do here. I love the staff that we have. We got some awesome people on our team, and it's fun, man. I know it's goofy to say, but like I enjoy mobile home parks. I like the people we serve. I like our resident base. I like knowing that we're providing a clean, safe, and quiet, affordable product in markets that aren't affordable. That's fulfilling for me. And I like the art of the deal, and I like hunting down deals and getting deals done. So I enjoy it. Nice. If I didn't, I'd go do something else.
Sure. All right. So seek a mentor, enjoy what you do. What would the third one be?
Yeah. Well, it probably goes back to find something that you enjoy doing, but dedication of a certain amount of time. So if you say, hey, I want to learn how to fix and flip properties. Ignore all the other noise, Ignore all the other shiny objects because we know there's a ton of them out there, and dedicate a certain period of time, whether it's 12 months, 24 months, and don't think about anything else. Don't change your path. Don't listen to your buddies that just made X amount of money doing something else, completely different strategy, and put the focus and put the time into it and dive, both feet in and learn everything you can learn. Listen to every podcast, get that mentor, go to boot camps, basically engulf yourself in that one strategy or that one niche. And again, give yourself the time to become good at it. I see so many people that kind of dive in and they get burned out before they got started,
Right.
They didn't set themselves up mentally for the amount of time that it truly takes to master any one thing. So,
yep. Fantastic. I love it. Seek a mentor, enjoy what you do. And I'd say invest in becoming an expert at what it is you're going after.
There you go.
Or at least being good at it, right? Really good at it. And if you're good at it and you enjoy it, there's nobody that's going to stop you.
Boom.
Perfect. Kevin, let's end on that. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, 2 different ways. My personal website, kevinbupp.com. You can go to the contact us page there. And then our company, if you want to learn more about what we're doing in the mobile home park space, it's sunrisecapitalinvestors.com. And again, the contact us page, you'll be able to track me down through that.
Cool. We'll put all that in the show notes for you too.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Matt. Always fun, man.
I'll see you again soon. We'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely, bud. You take care. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All righty. So that's it for today's episode of Thought Leader Thursday. I'll see you right here next Thursday for another episode right on the Epic Real Estate Investing Show. Take care. Hey, Rockstar, if you like what you just saw, there's much more goodness where that came from. Go ahead and smash the like button and then ring the bell to get notified of new episodes when we release them. And then after you've done that, I pulled this video out just for you. Check it out and see what I did over there.